Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming for this Sunday Feast program here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Today we have a exciting program. So we'll have a short bhajan at first, and then we'll read a verse from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll watch a wonderful 45-minute movie and have some more discussions, and then Aarti at 6 o'clock, and then Prasadam at 7 o'clock. So what more you can ask for? So we'll sing this bhajan, which was a favorite bhajan of Srila Prabhupada, which he sang before every class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hari. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Brajanaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tira Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jai Jai Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe, Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe, Jai Jai Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe, Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe, Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita, Gauranita Jaya Gauranita, Gauranita Jaya Gauranita, Jai Jai Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद अभिचरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ISKCON फाउंडर आचार्य शीला प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य शीला ठाकुर हरिदास की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन धाम की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्रम श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। गंगा मैया की जय। यमुना मैया की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि 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 बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Guru. Prabhu is saying Mike is also offering the dandavats. That's right. In spiritual world, everything is conscious, right? So today we'll read from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Actually, we'll be reading the verse from chapter 2, text 41. Before that, we'll start with the Mangalacharan, introduction prayers in the introduction section of the book. We can all recite together. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. This is from the chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized, verse 41. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. And if you want to repeat, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Mataji, any of you want to read? You can try, there's no harm. You can try. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. We'll do the word-to-word translations. Vyavasaya Atmika, resolute in Krishna consciousness. Buddhihi, intelligence. Eka, only one. Iha, in this world. Kurunandana, O beloved child of the Kurus. Bahushaka, having very branches. He, indeed. Ananta, unlimited. Cha, also. Buddhayaha, intelligence. Avyavasayinam, of those who are not in Krishna consciousness. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Please repeat. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life, is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22:62 states, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrida Nischaya Krishne Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hai. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is a rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado Yasya prasada nagati kutopi Dhyayang stuvang stasya yashastri sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. Translation: those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swamini Taramani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunivadi Paschata Darshatarane. So this week we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the departure of Srila Prabhupada from India to the US. So this last Thursday, 13th August 2015, marks the actual calendar day, English calendar day. He left Srila Prabhupada, who is seated on this Vyasasan here. He started single-handedly with nobody accompanying him on a cargo ship with only 40 rupees in hand, all the way from India when he was 69 years old. Why would like an elderly person at 69 years, knowing nobody in a foreign land, would take such a ordeal to travel in a cargo ship? So that's very fascinating story. So this week in Calcutta, where he boarded the ship, they had a huge celebration where like tens of thousands of people attended on the actual place where Srila Prabhupada left for his mission. So there was a purpose why he took on that arduous journey. Now it's a very historic journey. We are all here because he took the trouble to do that. So his, in fact, at 5 o'clock we'll be seeing a movie that illustrates the struggle he went through in India until he was able to come to that point. So in order to appreciate that, we thought of reading from this verse, which is one of the inspirational verses for Srila Prabhupada himself, as he writes, to do this almost impossible task. In fact, if you read the purport of this verse, there is so much realization that Srila Prabhupada has conveyed in this purport. So the basic idea here, he says, is as strong faith that by Krishna consciousness, one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life. It's called Vivasatmika intelligence. In other words, Srila Prabhupada had this such strong faith that by Krishna consciousness, everybody's life will become perfect. So he had that formula. So he wanted to share that with the whole world. In fact, he thought, okay, I'll share it from India and then hopefully gather a following, and then we'll gradually reach out to the West. But Krishna had different ways of making that happen. So people in India didn't take it seriously, the knowledge he was bringing. So they were very busy imitating the West. This was in the 50s and 60s. So Srila Prabhupada thought, okay, if everything is you are importing from the West, let me export this Bhagavad Gita knowledge to the West, and then you will understand its seriousness, and then you will import it back into India again. So that was his trick. So he was, in addition to the particular instruction that his spiritual master had given him to go and give this knowledge in the Western world or the English-speaking languages, Srila Prabhupada really wanted, because you would want to have a base to do that. It's not like a easy joke to just go into a foreign place, but Srila Prabhupada had no other means except to just try doing that. So he was like, as you will see in the movie, he was trying so many things in India, but nothing worked out. Because people either were too familiar with the tradition that they didn't understand the value he was bringing, or they were too busy with other priorities that came as a result of so many foreign invasions to India, and people were just being misled. So they were forgetting this basic principle on which the entire Indian culture is based on. That there is a spiritual principle summarized here as Krishna consciousness, by which the whole humanity can be perfected, everybody's occupation. So in the entire culture of India is based on this idea of Varna Shrama Dharma, which is the social fabric of this idea of Krishna consciousness. So in order for a system to be applicable to the masses, there has to be a structure. So this idea of Krishna consciousness is practiced in the Vedic society by means of following the Varna and Ashrama Dharma, and that was fast declining in India. People were misinterpreting the Varnas to be a caste system, and then they were getting affected by the results of it, and the ashramas were not being practiced seriously, and people were losing focus and losing the knowledge why it has to be done. As Srila Prabhupada says in the last paragraph of the purport here, the whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. In other words, it's not unless that there is a solid conception of the Atma or the soul, which is a spiritual entity that's beyond this body, and the needs of the body and the needs of the Atma are different. Unless one understands the basic difference between matter and consciousness, it's hard to appreciate the value system that we have. So people were losing the culture so rapidly, and India was taking to Western ways, and Srila Prabhupada tried so much to give this knowledge to awaken the humanity, because he knew the formula. He knew, he had full faith in this principle that's mentioned in this verse, that by practicing or by engaging in Krishna consciousness, one can achieve the perfection of life. But it was such a struggle to convince the people of this basic truth. But yet, that was the mission of a spiritual master, which he asked Srila Prabhupada to expand by giving it to the English-speaking countries. So, in other words, when a person is devoted for a mission, he has a very strong purpose. So that purpose is what drives everybody. So that's true even in this material world. When somebody believes in a particular technology or a particular product, they become so expert at it, and they sell it and they market it and they form a big company, and the whole world there is millions and billions of users because they believe in that particular cause. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he understood how this formula is working. It may be hard to imagine, but once you have some understanding of the process of Krishna consciousness, you can see how all of this fits together in one jigsaw puzzle. So there are so many aspects of material life, but there is so much aspects of spiritual life. They all fit in together under this one umbrella of Krishna consciousness. In other words, by coming to this higher level of Krishna consciousness, one understands how to see the whole world, how to integrate everything into one course of action. So that is the formula that Srila Prabhupada told, and that is the part of the process that Krishna is describing in this part of the Bhagavad Gita, and he calls it as Buddhi Yoga. In other words, acting with intelligence. So normally when we are not acting at that level, we may see material as something, spiritual as something different. We don't know how to prioritize different things. We don't know why I should work or why I should not work. We have so many questions, and so many courses of actions are possible. As here it says, Bahushaka hi Ananta. So there is unlimited options and ways in which to act in this world. But one who has this understanding of Krishna consciousness knows how to integrate and how to prioritize and how to focus on the goals. So, and that the basic thing here is given is the understanding here is, this is a beautiful line in this purport. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. So I'll read it again. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. So what this means is that everybody's particular situation that we are in is a result of our own past karma. Some people are placed in a good position because of good karma, and some people are placed in a bad position because of bad karma. And it's not static, because as time goes on, our good karma and bad karma just gets delivered to us at different points of time. So sometimes people are enjoying and sometimes people are suffering. So this cycle is going on in this world. Nobody can say I'm always happy, nobody can say I'm always sad, because that cycle is driving everybody's course of events. And in the course of those activities, when somebody doesn't understand the principles behind which it is working, what does one do? When they are good, they enjoy life, and then they are sad, they curse and blame and everything. And sometimes, when they're good, they use the results of their good pious karma in bad things, and then they act frivolously, or they act whimsically, or they act in a very condescending way, and then accrue bad karma as a result, which they are going to suffer in the future. So living entities are acting out of ignorance of these principles, these basic principles of how karma acts with bringing us our own good and bad results. So this is such a basic ignorance that everybody in this world, whether it's the CEO of the topmost company here in the Bay Area, or a rural farmer working with no spiritual knowledge, it doesn't matter what their material situation is, but everybody is just reaping the benefits, the fruits, or the good or the bad fruits of their karma, and suffering as a result in their life. And because they don't know this principle, they are correlating it with so many other factors, and then getting it wrong, and as a result getting confused. And sometimes people may even have some faith in God, but they expect God to always give them good results without understanding this principle of karma. And when the bad results come, they even blame God. I've been worshipping you for so long, why did you give this? So ignorance happens at multiple levels, and because of the ignorance, people are suffering. So the way to overcome this ignorance is by enlightening people about the real knowledge of who you are, why you are here in this material world, what is this material world meant for, why we are suffering, why is this karma there, who is God, what is our relationship with God, why do we come here, how do we go back to God. So these are all the fundamental ABCs every human being, civilized being, should actually be knowledgeable about. That's what education is about, right? We spend like 25 years in our lives getting educated in school and colleges, but hardly these subjects are being taught. Because of which you can see even like big businessmen, when the stock market fails, you hear they commit suicide, or they go into crazy mode. Why? Because they've been taught all technological knowledge, but nobody teaches these basic how to's of the world, how the laws of nature work, how the laws of God work. So this is such a fundamental principle of Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is teaching here. This aspect of being conscious of God and seeing everything in connection with God. If you don't see things in connection with God, you are surely going to get confused when things don't happen according to your plan. Because most of the people, they have a plan, and sometimes the plan seems to work. So they think whatever they plan or they achieve, they'll be able to realize it. But it's just a matter of time and probably a little bit of intelligence to see that things are not happening my way, and I don't have our control over most of the outcome in my life. And then that naturally brings this question, so what is this life meant for? Who is the controller? Why is this being controlled? So one has to be intelligent enough to ask these questions. And then when it comes to the finding the answers as quoted in this purport, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudarlabha. One comes to this point that Krishna is the ultimate cause of everything. Krishna is the root of everything. He is the source of everything. And we are all his parts and parcels. Krishna says elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivangsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. All the living entities are his parts and parcels. And out of, by misusing our free will, we have come to this material world from the spiritual world where we're in relationship with Krishna. And then in this material world, we have forgotten that relationship and thinking ourselves to be the enjoyer, the controller, and the doer. We are just trying different varieties of life. We have so many conceptions of what makes us happy, and we are just life after life after life, we are just testing out different conceptions. Okay, maybe this works, maybe that works, maybe this works, maybe that works, maybe, like a human being body is good, maybe a cat's body is good, maybe a lion's body is good. Just different bodies are nothing but different ways of experiencing life and, seeing if that particular enjoyment satisfies us. And man, women, rich, poor, different nationalities, different cultures, different cuisines. So we try so many things in this material existence, but none of it is ever satisfying to anybody. This is hardcore reality. You ask anybody whether they're fully satisfied in their life, nobody will say yes, because nobody is satisfied, because that is the nature of this world. There is only two things. Either there is hankering, okay, what will I do in the future, thinking about the future, or lamenting, oh, I didn't do this in the past. So there's hankering and lamenting. So people are not in general happy because of the lack of spiritual knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada had this formula for making people happy, because he knew perfectly that unless we revive our original connection with God or Krishna and reconnect in that relationship and live our life as a service to others in that relationship, then we cannot be happy. And the moment we turn our consciousness or purify our consciousness, instead of putting us in the center, by putting Krishna in the center and leading a life of a servant rather than as a master, when we make that change of consciousness within our heart consciously, and then try to experience a life of being a servant of God and His devotees, then we actually get everything that we are actually hankering for. So we are hankering for that satisfaction of pleasing God, pleasing devotees, and by seeing their pleasure, that gives us automatically the happiness. We don't have to separately endeavor for our happiness. So this is how the Atma or the soul is designed to be. Just like they say, born to rule, right? So like that, actually it's born to serve. So we are designed to serve. That's the very purpose we exist, is to serve Krishna. And by seeing Krishna happy, we become happy. It's not a negotiable thing. Unfortunately, that's the way we are designed. By just giving happiness to Krishna, we become happy. It's an absolute principle. But Krishna is not a egoistic God that He forces us to serve Him. That nature to serve is constant, but Krishna is so kind that He allows us to serve anybody else we want instead of Him. So we try serving our family, friend, society, country, humanity, etc., as is mentioned in this verse, in the purport. See if you can be happy by that. So people are trying so many things, and they have different degrees of success. Again, there is also a relative thing, like generally a person, who is serving his family is generally more happy than serving oneself. Person serving society is a little bit more happy than serving the immediate family, right? Because there is a greater sense of selflessness. The greater the sense of selflessness is, the greater it brings one's satisfaction. So that's the key principle of Krishna consciousness. And the highest state of that perfection is serving Krishna, who is the root of the entire creation. And by serving Him, all beings are served. So that's the idea. So even though we cannot alienate our nature to serve, but we can choose the object of our service. So that is the choice we have. We don't have choice of the nature. We have choice only the object that we serve. So that choice Krishna has very kindly given us. And we are trying to serve different people and experience different ways. And if you are intelligent enough, after you do all the math plus and minus of your life and see where it has come, you will realize that actually you're not really happy ultimately at the end of the day. Because when we serve with a self-centered conception, it limits the amount of happiness we can experience and amount of satisfaction we can get. Whereas when we serve the root of the creation, Krishna, then as it says here, it doesn't matter whether others accept us or not. It doesn't matter whether others recognize or not. It doesn't matter whether we are successful or not. We become transcendental or immune to those conditions of life, because our focus is, am I doing what Krishna wants? As long as I am doing that to the best of my ability, that's all it matters. The actual outcome, that's not in our hands. So we are not going to base our happiness or satisfaction based on the outcome, but based on our effort to serve Krishna. So that's what's called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. It's up to Krishna to give us the results or not. but our determination to serve Krishna is not going to change because of the situation. So we can see Srila Prabhupada's life is a perfect example of this principle of doing everything for Krishna. It doesn't matter how Krishna reciprocates. Because Srila Prabhupada received this instruction to spread this Krishna consciousness in English-speaking languages in 1922 when he met his spiritual master for the first time. Sorry? 32 he got initiated. Even before that, at the very first meeting at 1922, when Srila Prabhupada was just bowing down to his spiritual master, he didn't even get up. And then spiritual master was telling, why don't you preach this message in the English-speaking countries? And Srila Prabhupada, at the time he was a Gandhian, we also will see in the movie shortly. So he was thinking, actually, yesterday was India's Independence Day, right? So he was thinking, actually, independence will bring us the freedom to actually share this message. Otherwise, who is going to listen to us when we are under the British rule, right? And Prabhupada was right. Look at what independence has brought to India. It has only become more westernized, correct? So has India hasn't become spiritual because of independence. It has definitely become spiritual because of Krishna consciousness, which Srila Prabhupada endeavored so hard to achieve for. But in general, people only take to more materialistic ways after independence. So his spiritual master challenged him and told him, no, Krishna consciousness is such a important, it's a transcendental process that cannot wait for anybody or any political system to be adjusted. So that's the beauty of it. In other words, Krishna, the process is so transcendental, it doesn't matter whether you're in a jail or in a free country, whether you're in Russia or Brazil or America or India, it doesn't matter what your political social system is, because every Atma is looking for Krishna at the heart of it, their heart. So this knowledge can be given and communicated no matter at what conditions. So these are all the basic, the foundation of the nature of bhakti or spirit is that it doesn't depend on anything material. It's called ahetukya pratihata. So bhakti is ahetuki, means doesn't have any material cause. And apratihata, it cannot be stopped by any material means. So even if you put somebody in jail, let's say somebody believes in Krishna and you say, okay, I'm going to put you in jail because you believe in Krishna. Yes, you may restrict his movement, but you cannot change his heart. You may even ask him to, you may even force him to write that I don't like Krishna or I don't love Krishna. You may ask him to force, you may even write it out of force, but you cannot change his heart. Why? Because you have no control over that person's heart. So that's why bhakti is apratihata, it cannot be stopped. So in any material situation or any social situation, bhakti can be manifested. So Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master defeated Srila Prabhupada in this particular argument. Srila Prabhupada generally, he couldn't be defeated so easily. So he thought, wow, this person defeated me, so I'll accept him as my spiritual master. So, and then his whole life, so he got that instruction in 1922, and his whole life was trying to fulfill that instruction by giving this message in the English-speaking countries. But he was at that time he was a householder, so he had so much responsibility. So, but he was meditating, how can I do this? How can I do this? And several years later, he again wrote to his spiritual master, how can I serve you? And again he got the same instruction back. He's saying, give this message to the Western-speaking countries. So, and then in a couple of weeks later, he passed away, his spiritual master passed away, so Srila Prabhupada knew that was his final instruction. And then he was trying to mold his life. He was first trying to start a business, because generally to do anything you need money. So he said, okay, maybe let me make some money and then other things will come. And as you will see, that didn't work out. And then Srila Prabhupada then took up to, okay, let me start a movement in India. And then that didn't work out. And then he said, okay, let me write, at least start with the translation of books. I don't know how they'll be printed. I don't even know whether they'll be printed or published and people will read, but at least for my purification, let me write it. That's how he thought. As you can see, he wasn't attached to the outcome. He was always attached to the, what can I do? what is my role in it, what is my part in it. So that's what this verse says. Vyavasayatmika buddhi means you get an instruction from a guru, you just try your best to do it. Doesn't matter what the result is. Whether the result is coming immediately or it's going to come after 40 years. It doesn't change a bit in your determination to execute the instruction. So that principle of being surrendered to a spiritual master and receiving instructions from him and trying and dedicating our life in the best possible manner that we can to follow that instruction, to implement that instruction, is the highest perfection of life. It doesn't matter whether you are a poor or rich, doesn't matter whether you are man or woman, doesn't matter whether you're Indian or American, doesn't matter whether you're Hindu or Christian or Jew, doesn't matter any of these things. This principle that by accepting a guru and following his instructions to give Krishna to others and dedicate your life for that cause, irrespective of the outcome, your life is successful. Because there is no good or bad in Krishna consciousness, because there is only good. There is no duality there. It's on the absolute plane, meaning if you're doing the activities that Krishna has instructed us to do, that in itself is success. The actual success of the outcome is a secondary success. But our life is successful just by following the instructions. That's what this verse says. One should have that determination and that faith. And this is the faith that Srila Prabhupada had, and he has kindly shared that faith with all of us through his life and his journey to America. So unless we have such examples, how are we going to know that these verses, this is what the meaning of these verses? So Srila Prabhupada's entire life is an example of this particular verse, how resolute he was in his determination through all the ups and downs that happened. And then you can see, he struggled like that for 44 years in India, from 1922 to 1965 actually. And then he was able to make this journey, and that was only the first part of the struggle. And after he came, the next 1 year he went, Prabhupada said, if you know what I went through, you'll faint. That's a class in itself, probably we can discuss that in a month later when we are going to celebrate Prabhupada's arrival in America a month later, the 50th anniversary of his arrival. Now he's just departed, he's still in the Bay of Bengal, trying to come south and then come here. So with that, we'll start the movie. So it'll be a 45-minute movie. It's a beautiful production. It's a beautiful, I don't want to spoil your fun, but it's a beautiful production. Try to absorb in this mood of this particular verse, how determined and serious Srila Prabhupada was throughout his life, trying to fulfill this one instruction of his spiritual master. And then the rest is history. So with that, Ramananda Sakka Prabhu, we can start the movie. And after the movie is over, we can share some realizations of what devotees felt.
For the sun was destined to rise.
The sea have played an important role in the history of India. They have been India's contact with foreign lands. It was by sea that ancient traders came, attracted by India's richness and beauty. And it was by sea that the British had arrived and conquered the country. It was in this enslaved India that I was born on September 1, 1896 in Calcutta, the capital of the country. Europeans and Indians lived separately, although in business and education they intermingled. While remaining loyal to the British Crown, Indians followed their traditional religion and culture. Our house at 151 Harrison Road was situated in North Calcutta. My father, Gaur Mohan De, was a cloth merchant by profession. He was very pious, a devotee of Lord Krishna. He named me Abhay Charan. Mother was 30 when I was born. She was chaste and pious, dedicated to caring for her husband and children. I saw my parents live together peacefully. No marital conflict or dissatisfaction ever threatened home. The earliest memories I have are of the Radha Govinda temple, which was situated just across the street. It was a place almost daily visited by our family and relatives. I remember standing at the doorway of the temple, praying and hearing the melodious devotional songs. I would watch for hours together. I was very fascinated by the famous festival of chariots of Jagannath Puri, which attracted thousands of people from all over India. Father bought me a small 4-feet high cart, which I decorated and started celebrating my very own festival with my friends. Like the celebrations in Puri, my festival too ran for 8 consecutive days. Family members and neighbors also joined in the procession. Although everything I did was imitation, my devotion was genuine, and each successive year brought a new festival which I observed with the same enthusiasm. For me, my world was my small house, my loving parents, and my festivals. I needed nothing more. But the world outside was a different one. It was a world of suffering and death. When I was 13, Hindu-Muslim riots broke out in Calcutta. The harsh reality of life continued to confront me. Mother suddenly died. Her death was an abrupt lowering of the curtain, ending my tender childhood. I was deeply affected. Father gave me solace. The soul is eternal and everything happens by the will of God. Have faith and just depend upon Him. I understood. But life for me had changed. I was now forced to grow up. Childhood had ended. Life in college was demanding. No longer was I free to spend hours at the Radha Govinda temple. That had been a childhood luxury. Now I spend my days within the compound of the Scottish Churches College, studying Western logic, chemistry, or psychology. The atmosphere in college was academic, but the events taking place in the country had their influence. India was passing through a critical period. The movement for independence was gathering momentum. College was strict in forbidding anti-government propaganda, but students were sympathetic to the cause of home rule. Although there were no signs of open rebellion, we sometimes held nationalistic meetings in secret. I heard names well known in India: Surendranath Banerjee, Lala Lajpat Rai, and of course, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. I was attracted by him. Gandhi always carried a Bhagavad Gita and spoke of being guided by its philosophy. His personal habits were pure. Gandhi abstained from all intoxication, meat eating, and illicit sex. He led a life of simplicity. I read his speeches and followed his activities. Maybe he could carry spirituality into the field of action. Gandhi called for complete non-cooperation, boycott of everything British, commodities, courts, military honors, schools and colleges. I responded to his call by rejecting my college degree. I put aside my mill-manufactured clothes and took to wearing hand-spun khadi. This was not a clothing fad. It was a political statement. It meant I was Gandhian.
Oh boy, you must meet this saint from Mayapur. He is...
Oh no, Noren. I know all these saints and gurus. They are just beggars fooling people to collect donations. No, I am not going.
You must come. This particular guru seems to be a very learned scholar. You know, he's Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, the founder of Gaudiya Math. Remember?
Oh no, Noren. Please don't behave this way. Nare Baba, I am not going.
Just for a while, oh boy. We won't be long. Just for a while.
On the roof of the Gaudiya Math Center, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati sat with a few disciples and guests. Upon seeing me and my friend, he immediately said, "You are young men. Why don't you spread the message of Bhagavad Gita throughout the whole world?" I was a little surprised. I protested. "Who will listen to your message? First, India must get freedom. How can we spread Indian culture if we are under British rule?" He replied, "God consciousness doesn't need a change in Indian politics. It is so important that it cannot wait. No man-made political system can actually help humanity. Only by turning towards God, following His instructions, can we achieve peace. This is the verdict of the scriptures." From that day on, my life changed. I was deeply impressed by that first meeting with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Being from a pious family, I could appreciate what he was preaching. Of course, he was preaching to everyone, but he found something in me, and I was convinced by his argument and the mode of presentation. For the first time in my life, I felt defeated. But I knew this was not a defeat. It was an immense gain. I felt that I had met a very nice, saintly person, and I accepted him as my spiritual master in my heart. But I was now a married man, and due to family obligations, I could not take up preaching immediately. Having shifted to Allahabad, I started a pharmaceutical business and traveled frequently throughout northern India. But soon I was in for a setback. father passed away. I felt his loss immensely. He was my dearmost protector and friend. After mother's death, my dependence on him had increased, and he had fulfilled his responsibility perfectly, never giving me a chance to complain. For me, he was the embodiment of love and affection, an ideal father who had been careful to raise me as a God-conscious person. He had always desired the best for me, and I knew I could rely upon him. That well-wisher was now gone. The Bhagavad Gita, for which I had held fascination since childhood, assumed greater relevance in my life. Considered to be the essence of Vedic knowledge, the Gita, with remarkable clarity, reveals to us the nature of the absolute truth. The truth, which is the cause of all causes, the supreme personality of Godhead. I was deeply impressed by the path of unconditional, selfless, pure devotion to God propagated by the Gita. Even though there exist different paths of attaining the truth, all processes culminate in devotion and depend on it for success. Other processes purify a person from material contamination, elevate him to the spiritual platform, but only devotion can reveal the truth in totality. My life was changing, but along with this emerged problems in my family. I had hoped that my wife and children would join me in my quest for the truth. I tried encouraging them, but somehow they did not share my enthusiasm. Probably it was the sense of insecurity that forced them to take a negative stance. I could understand them. I never felt offended, nor did I blame them for it. I just hoped that they would realize the importance of what I was trying to do. In the autumn of 1935, I was with my spiritual master in the holy city of Vrindavan, taking a walk on the banks of Radhakunda. There had been quarreling amongst some of Bhakti Siddhanta's leading disciples, and this distressed him. If they were fighting now, what would they do after he had passed away? Deeply concerned, he told me, one day there will be fire in the Gaudiya Math, which will spread and destroy. I felt the urgency with which he spoke, and then he directly instructed me. I had a desire to print books. If you ever get money, print books. I never asked my spiritual master any question except one. How can I serve you? In the winter of 1936, I received a letter from him in which he once again repeated the same instruction I had received during our very first meeting. He asked me to preach Vedic knowledge all over the world. I took this letter as a confirmation. Now there was no doubt about the purpose of my life. This was the first instruction I had received from him, and ironically, the last one too. 2 weeks later, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati passed away. In 1939, the Second World War had begun. Lord Linlithgow, the Viceroy of India, announced that India was at war with Germany. Indian soldiers were dispatched to battlefields in Egypt, Iraq and Burma. Calcutta was bombed day after day. As the fire of the World War raged throughout the planet, the fire in the moth predicted by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati also broke out. Two parties emerged to be successors to their guru. Quarreling and fist fighting broke out. They sued each other in court. the preaching of the Gaudiya Math stopped. Even though I was not involved in the faction fighting, I was deeply affected. I realized the importance of strictly following the instructions of the Guru as emphasized by the Gita. Any deviation or loss of faith could lead to failure. In the midst of these calamities, I felt more than ever the need to spread Krishna consciousness. I had something to say to the world. When a man forgets that he is the son of Godhead and identifies himself with the body, he is like a man who is ever concerned with the automobile's mechanism, yet with no knowledge of the driver. The world's political leaders are expressing their disgust at their people's suffering and scarcity. After 4 years of fighting, costing millions of lives, the Second World War is still scourging the earth. Although the end is in sight, leaders have expressed not so much happiness and hope as weariness and uncertainty. Even if this war ended, would there be yet another war? Had man not yet grasped the vital lesson of how to live in peace? Without spiritual knowledge, there cannot be a solution to war. India, guided by God, can lead the world back to sanity. Being impressed by my humble endeavors, my God brothers awarded me the title Bhakti Vedanta. I accepted it with a feeling of responsibility. I knew I had to live up to it. One night I had an unusual dream. My spiritual master appeared to me beckoning. "Oh boy, leave home, give up business, renounce the world. Take sannyas." I woke up in an intensely emotional state. My spiritual master was giving me a specific instruction, but I could not give up my family immediately. Besides, my business was running successfully. I needed to earn money, not just for supporting my family, but also for preaching. Still, I remained shaken by the dream. 1947. Like millions of others, I was also affected by the violent dawn of Indian independence. The freedom movement, which was started with the aim of uniting India, had ended in partition. Riots flared up throughout the country. One party was Hindu, the other Muslim. They fought and many died. And after death, no one could understand who was Hindu, who was Muslim. They simply had to be cleared from the road. I was not expecting independence to bring any solutions. Unless the people of the country were God conscious, what change would there be? A few months later, my business suffered a major setback. My servants and employees stole almost everything. The loss was immense, and the business could not be revived. This certainly was a serious blow, but somehow I saw the present circumstances through the eyes of the scripture. I remembered a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam where Lord Krishna says, "When I feel specially merciful towards someone, I gradually take away all his possessions." I was never disinclined to pursue my business, but it seemed God was forcing me. "You must give it up." And I realized that He was gradually freeing me for actively pursuing my mission. I left for Jhansi, this time not for business, but for preaching. During a morning walk with one of my acquaintances, I spotted the Bharati Bhavan, an old temple complex. I was interested and decided to have a closer look. Across one of the sides of the stone temple, I saw a Sanskrit inscription, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. This was a part of the Mahamantra propagated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and spreading his teachings was the aim of my life. I considered this inscription a sign from God. Turning to my accomplice, I said strongly, the Lord has built this building for my use. The Bharati Bhavan was built in 1939 as a memorial to a wealthy landowner, but was not in use for a few years. And I was told that if the custodian, Mr. Bhoyal, agreed to give the building in charity, I could use it for my preaching. Extremely enthusiastic, I began thinking, in this room we will have discourses and lectures. This will be the temple room. Guests here, printing press there. Somehow I convinced Mr. Bhoyal. And here in Bharati Bhavan, I started the League of Devotees. In 1857, Rani Lakshmibai, the Queen of Jhansi, had started a political revolution against the British. The rebellion had then spread to the entire country, posing a serious challenge to the foreign rulers. And now, 100 years later, I was attempting to start a spiritual revolution, which I hoped would engulf the entire world. But soon, problems followed. Earlier, Mr. Bhoyal had offered the Bharati Bhavan in charity to the League of Devotees, but when I approached him for a deed of gift, he asked me to pay 5,000 rupees and buy it. All of a sudden, the generous gift had turned into a purchase offer. There was no way in which I could raise this money in Jhansi. So, I decided to go to Calcutta. On returning home, I was confronted by the inevitable realization which had been lurking in my mind for many years. I was 58 and it was time for me to retire from family life. This is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. A person is advised to detach himself from his family in the later stages and dedicate himself completely in the service of God. Besides, over the years, I had drifted apart from my family. One day, a serious incident took place. My wife took my copy of the Bhagavatam to the market and exchanged it for biscuits. When I returned home and looked for the book, she told me what happened. I was shocked. A wave of absolute resolution passed over me. I decided to leave home. My relationship with my family, anyway, was a dead one. There was no point in continuing. Now my sons were well settled. Relatives were also there to provide support. There had been many people in past history who had given up their family for a higher cause. They had risked being misunderstood and condemned, and it would be the same for me. But I had to do it. I had fulfilled my duties towards my family. Now I had to fulfill my duty towards the world. As I left, my family thought I would soon be back. But only I knew it was all over. I would never return. Upon my return to Jhansi, I met with competition for possession of the Bharati Bhavan. The wife of the governor decided to take over the building for organizing a women's society. I tried to resist, but I was driven out. Just like the rebellion of 1857 had failed, my attempt of establishing a spiritual movement had also ended unsuccessfully. For this cause, I had left my family, and now having been thrown out of there, I had nowhere to go. I had been to Vrindavan several times, but they had been brief visits. This time I was going there to stay. Here, 5,000 years ago, my Lord Sri Krishna had manifested his earthly pastimes. This was the most sacred place for all Hindus. To live and die in Vrindavan guaranteed liberation from material sufferings and an eternal existence in the spiritual world. I was already 60 years old, but like others, I had not come to Vrindavan to retire. Rather, I had come because it was the ideal place to gain spiritual strength. Here, I wanted to prepare for my mission. On September 17, 1959, at Keshavji Gaudiya Math, I accepted the renounced order of life, Sannyas. Now I was A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. For me, accepting this new title did not mean just changing to saffron and giving up family, home, business. This I had already done. It had a greater significance. It was the mandate I required, the irrevocable commitment. Now, it was only a matter of time before I would travel to the West. The knowledge contained in the Vedic scriptures had been protected by the Sanskrit language for centuries. But now, the secret had to be released to the world. If I had to succeed, I had to translate the scriptures into English. I began with the Srimad Bhagavatam. In Vrindavan, I stayed at the Radha Damodar temple. It was here that Lord Chaitanya's most intimate disciples, Rup and Jeev Goswami, had resided 400 years ago. I knew that they wanted me to go to the West, and somehow God had brought me here to receive their blessings. Writing was only half the battle. The other half was publishing. For this, I had to go to Delhi. In the heart of Chipiwada, near Jama Masjid, was the narrow entrance of a Radha Krishna temple. On the second floor was a room given to me by a well-wisher, Krishna Pandit. This was my office in Delhi. We know that our honest attempt in presenting this great scripture, conveying the transcendental message for reviving the God consciousness of people in general, is fraught with many difficulties. Our capacity of presenting the philosophy in adequate language will certainly fail, and there may be so many discrepancies in spite of our attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of the society will still accept it on account of its being an honest attempt for glorifying the Almighty. The first volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam was ready. The message of God awaited its readers. But India had changed. People were blindly imitating the West, giving up their own culture. It was such an irony. Though theoretically Indians praised their traditions, they accepted Western thoughts and way of life without hesitation in practice. In such a situation, distributing Srimad Bhagavatam was not easy. I walked through the dusty roads of Delhi in the intense heat. Sometimes this was difficult to bear. I often dreamt of going to New York. It had become an obsession. But how this would happen, I did not know. In July 1964, I was in Bombay. The aim of my coming here was to raise funds for my printing. I had visited Bombay earlier, during the days of my business. I was fairly successful then, young and well respected. But now I had come as an old renunciant, alone and poor. I attempted to arrange a meeting with Srimati Morarji, the chairman of this India Steam Navigation Company, as I had heard that she helps saints and religious people. But her officers didn't allow me in. Frustrated, I waited for over 5 hours at the entrance and finally managed to catch her attention. As Srimati Morarji went through the typed manuscripts and the published volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam, I watched her with great apprehension. Suddenly she said, "All right, I will give you the aid. Whatever you want, you can get it printed." Srimati Morarji appreciated my ideals. She herself was a very pious lady, much interested in Vedic philosophy. She requested me to read Srimad Bhagavatam to her. Every evening we'd sit together in her garden. I meditate upon Lord Krishna because he is the absolute truth, the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. One day, I was in for a pleasant surprise. The Ministry of External Affairs informed me that my no objection certificate for going to the United States was ready. But I had not instigated any proceedings. Then how did this happen? I was shown the declaration form signed by one Mr. Gopal Agrawal of Pennsylvania, in which he solemnly declared that he would bear the expenses of my stay in America. I then recollected. About 3 months ago, I had met a businessman and had mentioned to him in passing that I wanted to go to America to preach. The businessman had volunteered that he would ask his son Gopal to sponsor my visit. And now it had happened. I could not believe my eyes.
No, Swamiji, I cannot give you a free ticket on my steamship. You are too old, and I doubt whether you will be able to accomplish anything.
You must help me, Mrs. Morarji. Now I have a sponsor. It is a real chance to fulfill the mission of my life.
You know what my secretaries think? They say you are going there to die.
That is nonsense. You will see, Mrs. Morarji, I will be successful.
Okay, Swamiji, I will give you a free ticket.
The day before my departure from Calcutta, I travelled to Mayapur to visit the Samadhi of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. I recollected our first meeting. 43 years had passed since then. All along I had struggled to fulfill his instructions. At last I had got a chance and I prayed for his blessings. The day had arrived. Besides me in the taxi sat Shishir Bhattacharya, a singer I had met a year ago. He was not my relative, not a disciple, not even a close friend. He was just an acquaintance who was willing to help. It was such an irony. In my native city, Calcutta, where I was born and brought up, where I lived for the greater part of my life, today I had no one even to see me off. I have my wife and sons, daughters, grandsons, everything. But I have no money, so they are a fruitless glory. Where have my loving father and mother gone? And where are all my elders who were my own folk? Who will give me news of them? Tell me who? All that is left of this family is a list of names. Old and physically weak, I was leaving on an almost impossible mission. I realized that I was going to an unknown and probably an unwelcoming country. To be poor and unknown in India was one thing. Even in these days of degradation, when Indians, influenced by the West, were giving up their culture, it was still India. It was still the remains of Vedic civilization. Here I had been able to see millionaires, governors, the Prime Minister, simply by showing up at their doors and waiting. A saint in India was respected. The Bhagavad Gita was respected. But in America, it would be different. There had been no one, a lone foreigner. Standing on the deck, I watched as the ship slowly sailed away. The Indian shore, which drifted further and further away, reminded me of the struggle I had undergone. And the sea before me, on the other hand, reminded me of the struggle that was in store ahead. The British had come to India by sea and had won it over by its strong military might. And now, also traveling by sea, I was making a humble attempt to win over the West for India, not by any weapons, but by the message of love, love of God. With 40 rupees and the handful of possessions I was carrying with me, my mission certainly seemed difficult to accomplish. In fact, I had no idea of how it could happen. But I knew this was Lord Krishna's plan, and so it would surely happen. In fact, the temples already exist, devotees exist, books exist. Only time separates us.
After a 37-day-long journey, during which he suffered 2 heart attacks, Prabhupada finally reached America. Having stayed briefly in Pennsylvania, he moved on to New York, where in July 1966, Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The rest is history.
कृष्णात्तदीयपदपङ्कजपञ्जरान्तम् अद्यैव विशतु मे मानसराजहंस प्राणप्रयाणसमये कफवातपित्तौ कण्ठावरोधनविधौ।
जय। Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Yeah, we should thank the producers of this beautiful documentary on Srila Prabhupada. I mean, I can't thank them enough. How much inspiration it gives us every time we see it. So, as you saw, this is such a wonderful, his life is a wonderful example of this verse that we were reading today, Vyavasayatmika Buddhir Ekeha Kurunandana. So we'd like to now hear some realizations from devotees, whatever inspired from the movie or life of Srila Prabhupada or from the verse that you would like to share. Please go ahead. We'll pass the mics around. Unless you are completely speechless after watching the movie, you are excused.
Thank you, Prabhu, for bringing such a wonderful movie and explanation. I like in your lecture you are mentioning, and I reminded of the talk Maharaj was giving. His Holiness, forgot in the LA, and then he was telling that mystics, like every one of us looks for mysticism. What is mysticism? How can you convert? But you told the same line, like how the greatest mysticism is that when you serve Krishna, when you make happy Krishna, then you become happy. But if you try to make self-you happy, then you can never be happy. So that point in the lecture when you told, I like it very much. That's what Prabhupada has given so many ways that how can you serve Krishna and become real happy. That was not possible. That is a real mystery.
Thank you. Any other points? Sorry?
He's the only reason we met.
That's right. Actually, yeah, as it says, the rest is history, so we are all part of that history. Anything from the movie that particularly touched your heart? Yeah, Shri Kumar.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for sharing this. Actually, yeah, from the movie, really, I had forgotten what struggles and what things Prabhupada had went through to even come here. So this movie, seeing this, and one more clip on 13th, I had seen how he struggled to even get one ticket to come to the United States. I mean, like it's very hard to go and ask somebody, but so much Prabhupada did to come here, and then with so much struggle he put it all up, and now the fruits are there. So it's very easily, I had actually overlooked the foundation that Prabhupada had put to give Krishna consciousness to all of us. So this movie has brought back at least some knowledge that okay, how much struggle, how much love and compassion he had shown to all of us. And right now we might not, I have never seen him, but because of his sacrifices, whatever I am today, or it just wouldn't have been possible without Prabhupada's mercy. So at least this kind of brought us back at okay, there is so much involved, so much sacrifice he had gone through, every step failure. I mean, that's another inspiration that I was getting, that even though it might look like at every step it was failure, but Krishna finally made it successful for him. So for us also, maybe Prabhupada is actually giving us an inspiration from this, that even just keep continuing. Even though actually these days we don't even look at failure. I mean, the failures that Prabhupada's seen, I don't think that those kind of failures even we see, because it's because of his compassion. He's there and he's kind of giving us success or some kind of, I mean, not as much. I don't think I would even stand to continue if even one failure like that comes to me. So he's kind of pushing us through and through. It's taken everything and pushing us through and through. Just grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us all of this and helping us move forward. So I'm really grateful. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Wonderful, Prabhupada. Thank you. Yeah, now we take things for granted, as you said. But imagine when there was no book. I mean, Srila Prabhupada not only had to translate them, he had to go to the printer and get them published. Not just that, and he had to distribute it as well. He was doing everything by himself. It's amazing, like how, and it's not just like 1 or 2 days or years, but like 40 years. He has been meditating on that instruction to be fulfilled, and he had no clue how Krishna would fulfill that. But all he did was do his part and just completely depend on Krishna. So that is the Vyavasayatmika faith that Srila Prabhupada has demonstrated, and that's the legacy he has given for all of us. So that is the faith we need to carry in our heart to fulfill the instructions of Guru and Krishna to the best of our ability and be an instrument of them in fulfilling whatever their mission is. And if we are able to do that, then that's the perfection of our life. We don't need anything more than that to be happy and to make others happy. So it's the length of the struggle. And when he came to US, like he came with like only 40 rupees in his hand, and he had like a trunk full of Srimad Bhagavatam sets. So whoever he would meet in the America, he would just give them a book. Like, in fact, when he had to pay rent for one of the storefronts where he started the first ISKCON temple, he asked like how much is like $75 per month. He said, okay, for $15, I'm giving you one set of books. So the remaining I'll give by cash. So that's how Srila Prabhupada is always distributing his books in the beginning and translating simultaneously. And for 44 years, there wasn't anything that manifested. But in the last 11 years of his life, he accomplished everything. That's amazing how this is the surrender of a pure devotee, that they do everything but leave it up to Krishna for the result. So if Krishna wants to make his mission successful, then he would make it. If Krishna doesn't want it, then what power we have to succeed? So that was his faith. And Srila Prabhupada Shri Krishna through the life of Srila Prabhupada showed us how patient and at the same time focused Srila Prabhupada was for all those 40 years, trying to do so many things to accomplish it and make it move forward. But it's clearly we can see Krishna's hand in this. Krishna was using Srila Prabhupada to give us all an example of this is what my pure devotee is. So without such examples, these verses wouldn't make a lot of impact in people's lives. So we are very thankful to Srila Prabhupada, and we can use these days to meditate upon the sacrifice that Srila Prabhupada has given us, and do something for his mission by being a part of it and making our own lives perfect. Hare Krishna.